Hello everybody, welcome to episode 9. I'm Joe Shelton. This is Moonshine and Music, the perfect music show. Today's guest is Cari and the Shaky Legs, but before we get to that, I want to say thank you to Brent Smith, and remember that Otto's Funhouse is next Monday, and you can go there and be in his open mic. Brent provides a great service to us. He's a comedian, he's a funny guy, but he also provides a location for our show for the next few episodes. So thank you, Brent. Also, thank you to Eat New Media. Go to eatnewmedia.com where you can find all your video needs. And I guess we should talk a little bit about today's artist, Cari and the Shaky Legs. Cari and Dionne Ward are on the show today, and we're going to be interviewing them a little bit and talking about their lives and things, but the amazing harmonies are what I want you to pay attention to when you get to the performance part of this video, because it's outstanding. It's some of the best harmonies that I've ever heard, and I'm very, very, very pleased and honored to have been able to mix them together and make the performance in today's show. It's nothing short of epic, and I love it very much, and I hope that you will too. So let's stop stalling and get right to it. Moonshine and Music starts now. Well, welcome to Moonshine and Music, Cari and Dionne Ward of Cari and the Shaky Legs.
Good to be here.
Or, you know, as some pronounce it, Cari.
Cari, yeah,
apparently.
we've been through that. You have to like hold your pinky up when you say it that way.
Cari. It sounds like very fancy when we do that.
I know. That's why it doesn't really work.
Well, you know, I've never heard an odd pronunciation of Joe, but I'm still waiting.
There's time.
There's plenty of time for that. Yeah. So, you know, before we were rolling here, before I forget to ask this question out loud, the hat, you have a like a little airplane on there and a feather.
A little feather, yeah.
What's with the hat? Let's go with that.
So this hat's a Stetson Stratoliner. So I've been a hat wearer for ever and ever in my everyday life, but I never wore one on stage. I don't know, for some reason I made up that I shouldn't do that. And then I just decided why not. And I was in the little hat shop. You know, I live down in Brown County. I was in the little hat shop there, and there was this hat that I saw. It was actually a straw version of this hat, and I was like, "What's that?" And they were like, "Oh, it's this Stetson Stratoliner." And so I tried it on. I put it on. I looked in the mirror, and I looked like me in that hat. And so I was like, "I'll take it." And now I have like 7 of them. I think I have some straw ones and some hemp ones and some, because when I find something I like, I get it in multiples, shoes, hats, things like that. But this is actually a design from the 40s that they just recently reintroduced, and it's got an airplane on it because it was originally a design that was done for Howard Hughes. You know, the guy that
right.
Spruce Goose
Aviator movie
went crazy and all that.
Yeah, where, you know, Leonardo
dated Katharine Hepburn, right?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's very cool.
Thank you. I love it.
My hats are not nearly as cool. They're all for the sports teams that I
that's all
endure.
Right. That's all right. It's become I don't know. It's become kind of a signature thing now. I don't know, but people recognize me like from the. In fact, I went to one of the writers' rounds just to go at the Irving Theater a few months ago, and you know, it's like dark. We got there kind of after it had just started, and so it's dark in the audience or whatever. And then one of the it might have been Megan Hopkins, I think, that was playing, and she came out and she was like looking, and she came out and she goes, "I thought that was you. I saw the silhouette of your hat, and I thought that looks like Cari's hat." And I was like, "Okay." Yeah.
Well, you know, I wonder if I came into the thing in the dark and wearing your hat
might confuse people.
If it would confuse Megan Hopkins, because if she got the two of us confused, then we would really know that she was probably either on something or blind.
Yeah, so I wear a hat, and you know that helps people tell us apart too. You know, since she doesn't wear a hat,
I'm still looking.
You're looking for the right hat.
Yeah. You know, you never know what the right hat is. I mean, you know,
until you put it on.
Until you put it on. I think that's a big thing. Yep. So, you know, you touched a little bit on where you're from. You guys, are you both from Brown County and Nashville, or?
No, I'm originally from Portland, Oregon.
Ooh, a Portland person. So, are you like really touchy about your coffee and like how that is done?
She likes the rain. I'll tell you that.
You like the rain?
She likes rain.
And I like coffee. So yeah.
So you're definitely a Portland.
I'm touchy about it, but I like strong coffee.
Strong coffee.
Strong. Okay.
She likes it to like get up and walk across the table to get in the cup.
Well, I mean, Portlanders are like kind of legendary for their, you know, pickiness about, you know, how the coffee's brewed and how it's all of that. But
We're
maybe
doing
I'm
pour over these days.
Maybe I'm jumping into the stereotypes. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, it could be worse. You could have asked me if I was a lumberjack.
I was more onto the coffee than the lumberjack.
Perfect.
I have more of a lumberjack look.
Okay.
So, are you grew up in Nashville? Or?
No, I didn't. It's kind of weird. I grew up in Park County, so if people are familiar with Turkey Run State Park, so I'm still a Hoosier. I just grew up in West Central Indiana, and it's kind of interesting. People ask me, you know, why Brown County and what I love about it. And of course, I did go there as a child. We'd go visit the park, but it's. In a lot of ways, it's similar to where I grew up, but different. So it's got a lot of the cool outdoor features. You know, I love to fish and hike and, you know, get out in the woods. And Brown County is very hilly, obviously, and there's a lot of great hiking and biking and all of that, fishing too. And where I grew up, it's like I say Brown County has hills, and where I grew up we had hollers, because where Park County is, it's like there's Turkey Run State Park and there's all these great places, but it's like it's a little rolling but mainly flat. But then there are these great sort of crevices and things that were cut out by the glaciers as well. So I spent a lot of my childhood, you know, hiking into the woods down to the creek bottom and then stomping around in it all day. You know, so Brown County's not that much different. It's just a little different how you get to the creek now.
Well, I love Turkey Run. When I was younger, I one time took my kids up into the you know, trail like 2 or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, like the tough one.
The tough
one. The ladders and all that.
Yeah, and like my son was on my back on the way up. Like he was like 5 or 6, and he couldn't handle the ladders, so he like jumped on my back and we went up them. Which, you know, it's kind of weird when you're in a public like park and suddenly you have to climb up ladders. You know?
It's a little different, but it's so beautiful. I just love it there. I've spent so much of my childhood running around in the woods, and
so your parents, what did they do growing up?
So my mom did hair. That's how she says it. She did hair a couple days a week at home. Yeah, she got her beauty license in 1969. My mama did. She was from Florida originally, and my dad actually met her there when my dad was younger. He was a mason, and he was down in Florida. He was originally from up here, but he was down in Florida because it was cold and mortar freezes when it's below freezing, so there wasn't work up here, and he had some friends who were working a job down there, and he met my mom down there, and they lived in Arizona for a while and then moved back here before I was born. And dad always liked to be outside too, and so he was a mason mainly because that's what his whole family, you know, all his uncles and brothers and everybody, so he kind of came up in that originally. Then he got into construction more, and then for most of my childhood, you know, by the time I was about 8 or 9, he started working with lumber in one way or the other. He had a portable sawmill for a while, and then he had a tree service where he'd go, you know, take care of people's trees, sometimes remove them, or if they fell on a house or whatever. He had a bucket truck, and I helped him in the summers when I was in high school. I drove the chipper truck and fed the chipper, so I was in really good shape then because I could run a chainsaw and drag limbs, and I did all the stuff he didn't want to do.
I might need you at the house.
Yeah, I did all the stuff he didn't want to do. You know, it was all good. But I still to this day, there's in Brown County in Nashville, there's a chainsaw artist guy who's always out, you know.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that like along the highway. 46.
No, it's not along the highway. This guy's there. Those guys are there too, but this guy's like in town. Like he's in town.
Oh, he does it in town.
Yeah, and that smell, like the smell of like barn chain oil and sawdust, just reminds me of my dad. You know, to this day, he just always smelled like that.
Well, that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, what did your parents do growing up? Were they, and they were out Portlanders, so.
My mom was an interior designer.
And a painter.
And she's also an artist.
Yeah.
She paints. My dad business consulting. So we're much more city oriented for sure than Cari's country folks.
Yeah. Her dad, though, it's kind of cool. Her dad is, how old is he now? He's in his
81.
He's 81, and he gets up every day and goes to the gym like at the crack of dawn. Like gets his coffee and goes to the gym.
Not even the crack of dawn. It's before that.
It's before the crack of dawn. Yeah, he sees the dawn after his workout. Yeah. And then writes most of the day. He's like been working on he's got a couple different books. One he's already finished. And
right. When I say how's retirement, he's like, don't use that word. I'm on my third career. I'm a writer now.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's right.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
What's his? Does he have a published book out or?
He's working on that. He's working with a publisher right now. So.
We can't talk about it.
Yeah.
You got to keep that hush hush.
Released, right?
Yeah, I don't even know.
But it is fiction. It is a made up story. So.
Yeah.
Well, the fiction is what we're about as songwriters most of the time. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll say though, I think I've always felt like songs to some extent are relatively at different levels autobiographical. And what I mean by that is, at most they are about our life or something that happened. And at a minimum, whatever story we tell, I think is through our filter that is a big part of who we are and what our biases are and how we perceive things and so on. So I think no matter how fictional the song is, there's always a piece of the writer in the story somewhere.
I think that I totally agree with that. When you're writing your songs, there's Brown County and the hills and everything. How much does all of those things influence your stories, or do you feel like you just let it infuse it, or do you purposely go, I'm gonna write a song about fishing today?
Yeah, I don't really write that way. I've done some of that, and I've been in. I tried doing one of those groups where you have to write a song a week and they give you a prompt and all that stuff, and I just don't. It's really cool. I think it's a great way to work your craft, and I have given myself some assignments before out of necessity or whatever, because there was a requirement to be on a compilation CD or something that it had something in it or whatever, and I've gotten some decent stuff out of that. But I don't know. I feel like I write. Well, I mean, I guess we all do to a degree, write about the human condition, but I feel like I end up writing about it kind of directly. So it's really, a lot of it ends up being more of an outpouring of the inside story, kind of an outpouring of what's going on inside. Now, I might reference, people and places or times or whatever in doing that, but it's really kind of about talking about the journey from here to there.
Right. So when you're taking it, I've seen that you've taken it on the road in the past, gone down to Florida and played and things like that. Do you find yourself changing which songs that you do when you're gone, when you're away from here, or when you're?
I haven't really changed songs. I don't really do that, but I do notice different songs played differently, different places. Like, for example, I have, partially because of my upbringing, I was brought up very fundamental. We were like that little family that was in church every time the doors were open, and a lot of those, I don't really write gospel songs, although I have written one, just because it came, and I have this commitment when a song comes to visit. That's what I call it. When a song comes to visit, I write it. And then I judge it later. That's kind of the thing. I'm not like, I don't know if I want to write about that. It's like, if it's here to visit.
When a song comes to visit.
Yeah, when it comes to visit. Because what I've learned is it doesn't matter how much I'm like, no, I'm not going to write. No, that's not cool. Or no, I don't. It will just keep knocking, So I'm like, okay, all right. So when I have time, I'll write it. But I do have, I think, a lot of those sort of themes in my music. It weaves its way in and out. Everything from referencing gospel stories to I don't know, just talking about indirectly some of the fundamental ideas that I grew up with, and I don't even know what your original question was. I'm wondering.
Oh, it's just how do you change your songs when you
oh no, I know where I was
travel.
going with that. Squirrel. Where I was going with that is, so I have and when I play those songs around here, there's so many folks that I play in front of that, they either grew up in church, or even if they didn't, we live in kind of we're kind of part of the Bible Belt here, so people know what I'm talking about. They get the references that, and there are some places that I go and I can play songs like that, and people are like it just doesn't land the same way, because the context, the social context is not the same there. And so I have noticed that.
It's interesting now, because I responded to that song immediately, but I don't know any Bible stories. Like I didn't grow up.
That's right. Yeah,
I didn't grow up that way. So.
I wrote this song called "A Little Higher." It's actually the way we end the new record that's coming out, and it's totally a gospel tune. And it came about because, there are all these Bible stories that I learned growing up. Like Samson and Delilah, and Daniel in the lion's den, and all these stories. And one of the things I noticed, the thread that ran through a lot of those old stories, was that the folks who were the protagonists in those stories had this way of being able to look beyond what was often a really terrible circumstance and see light, or see a possibility, or see something better, or get to the other side of it. And I thought, man, that's a concept I can get behind, So I wrote this song called "A Little Higher," and it's all about you got to climb a little higher and find a better view, And I use 4 different Bible verses. I reference 4 different Bible stories in the writing of the song. And she liked the song a whole lot. We were talking about it one night, and she's like, "Yeah, it's cool."
She's like, "Yeah, you know the story."
And I go, "You know those stories, right?" Because in my mind, like, you think everybody knows those stories, right? And she's like, "No." And then I told her what the stories were, like the gist of the stories that I referenced. She goes, "Wow, I like that song even better now. Like, it's even cooler now. It's more interesting." And
but I mean, I found it interesting even not knowing the stories.
Right. Well, that's
the song in of itself told a story.
Right. Well, and I think that's different songwriters have different bottom lines, or things that they're all about, or rules for songwriting, or whatever. And I don't have any of that stuff per se, but I think that one of the things that I value a lot is trying to boil whatever story I'm telling down to the, if not the least common denominator, some of the common denominators of the human condition. Because while the players are different and the details of the stories are different, the plight of us from birth to death, all of us together, we're all in it together, and it's really, we're not as different as we might pretend we are sometimes, I think. And so I really love finding all those ways that we're the same and talking about that.
So you guys are working on a new record. I know you guys just got together as the Shaky Legs, and what's the how did you guys meet and get together and all of that?
Well, the name is new, but we're not new. We've been playing music together for like 6.5 years now, I think. It's and Dion joined the band because I've always been kind of a solo artist.
You had like a trio at one point,
well, we still do. See, that's the thing. It's like the duo has kind of become the core part of our sound. It's like what people seem to really respond to, and Dion's harmonies are a big part of that, and the percussion that she brings to the scenario. But then we also perform sometimes as a trio with Chuck Wills. He's our lead guitar, and a bass player named Jeff Farber. So sometimes when we do bigger shows, we'll have both of them. We play with Chuck a little more frequently. He lives in Brown County as well, and we do some trio shows that way. But then when we do bigger shows, like we'll play Mallow Run Winery. That's always hard for me to say. To this day, I've been playing there for like 7 years, and I have to say it many times before I have more wine.
I end up saying mellow.
Mellow, yeah.
Like marshmallow.
Yeah. Anyway, so we play there this summer. We play some bigger municipal gigs, like we'll play the Bloomington Park series and some things like that, and we'll do that as a 4-piece. But so we've been playing for a long time and singing, and people seem to really respond to the vocal blend and to the songs. And the duo allows that to be really front and center, the songs and the voices. And people have been saying for a while, they want to hear that, like they want that on a record. And part of it is we're getting ready to head out and do more and more touring. That's the plan. And so we wanted a name that sounds like a band, because we feel like we sound like a band, and that works and makes sense. And so it was like in February we announced the new name. I think I first came up with it a few months prior, maybe 6 months prior, and it took a while to get her to warm up to the...
My initial reaction was, the what? No, I don't think so.
I really, I responded to it. I was like, wow, that's a really cool name, because it'll totally be rememberable,
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I finally agreed to it.
Yeah. It's like the hat. It's like the hat. It's memorable.
Right.
So do you feel like you're the Shaky Legs portion of the program?
Absolutely. That's what people. That's the go-to. I mean, you know, she's Cari Ray, so he must be the Shaky Legs.
Yeah, right.
If I had a dime for every time I've heard that.
Yeah.
Well, somebody hear that.
That's right. Well, when I first made the announcement and posted it, Rusty Bladen, who's another great artist, he lives down in Madison, plays around a lot. He'd be a great one to have on the show, actually.
I'm always looking for more people.
Sure. Rusty's great and really fun, really entertaining, really nice guy. And anyway, I posted that and he said, love it. He said, out of curiosity, whose legs are shaking? And I just said, well, hopefully everybody's by the time we're done, right? That's
exactly.
kind of the idea.
Yeah, like all you guys are actually the Shaky Legs.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Get them going. Let's go.
That's a cool way to bring everybody in.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I thought to myself too, I'm like, if I'm looking at the roster or something at a festival, and there's a lot of little bands that I haven't heard of, and I'm looking and I see that name, like I'm probably going to go check that out just to see what it's all about. You know, like that wouldn't be a bad thing.
No, that's not a bad thing at all. Well, I wanted to get you in here to do some of your music. So are you guys fired up to play some songs?
Heck yeah. Yeah, we're going to play some stuff that's off the new record that's coming up, which, I don't know for sure when this is airing, but it'll probably be out by then. It's going to be out the end of April of 2018. So April 27th is the launch date.
It'll probably be out a little after that.
Yeah.
This is, we're recording in early April, but this show will probably end up a little bit after your release.
Well, that's perfect.
It takes us a while. We pre-record the show. For those of you who think we just throw it together.
I cut that part out. I wouldn't even tell them that. Cut that part out. Make them think it's live every week.
We pre-record the show.
Any questions? No questions?
Right? Yeah. Just so that's all clear. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys coming out and doing the show with us.
Sure.
And it's been really great meeting you, and I can't wait to hear some music. So
awesome.
Let's get to it.
Sounds good.
We'll be back with more right after this, and you'll get to hear Cari Ray and the Shaky Legs. Next week on Moonshine and Music, Tori Fischetti is in the house. You're going to hear some stories of New York and where he grew up, and you'll also get to hear this epic performance.
We did our best on the old church steps. Those hallowed halls that we would run. The reckless nights and cop car lines, and we were the only one.
We're going to start with the title track from our upcoming release. It's called Bad and Better Angels. 2, 3, go. He said, sister, won't you tell me, oh, why am I alone? You know, I got no little children, no woman warm at home. you're digging in your neighbors. Oh, instead of your own eye. Each of us has angels flying all around. Bright shining ones from heaven and dark ones from the ground. And if you're being Christian or if you're being me, it's a bad and better angel carry you between. Now hasten little children, come on and listen what I say. Oh, let's all save the judging for the judging day. Lest you look around on the deciding of your fate to find that you are standing on the wrong side of that gate. Each of us has angels flying all around. Bright shining ones from heaven and dark ones from the ground. And if you're being Christian or if you're being me, it's a bad and better angel. Oh, each of us has angels flying all around. Shining ones from heaven, dark one from the ground. And if you're being Christian or if you're being me, it's a bad and better angels carry you between. Thank you very much. All right, now we're going to do a little tune that I wrote as a sort of a tribute to Patsy Cline. I wrote a ballad for her. I say for her because I tried to write a song I thought she might like a couple years ago, and then a few months back I thought it might be fun to write her a swinging tune too. So we're going to put this one on our new record as well. This song's called What'd You Do That For? In the springtime, I knew by summer I'd fall, and by the time the snow was flying, I'd given you my all. For many seasons we were happy, as the crow's about to call. Then you started staying out late and never coming home at all. So I've been climbing the walls, I've been walking the floor, I've been banging on the window, I've been hanging on the door. You said you had to leave because you didn't love me anymore. Broke my tender little heart. What did you do that for? You're the lady, lady, lady. You're the lady, lady, little lady. I never felt this way before, dear. I'll never feel it again. But it's hard to tell you lose it when it seems you're bound to win. You acted so much like you loved me, I would have given you the part. But the curtain all but fell deep before the show could even start. So I've been climbing the walls, I've been walking the floor, I've been banging on the window, I've been hanging on the door. You said you had to leave because you didn't love me anymore. Broke my tender little heart. What did you do that for? You're the lady, lady, lady. You're the lady, lady, little lady.
of lust or passion that turned your head around to leave me standing in the kitchen, a slamming door, the only sound. I've never been so lonesome. My heart is calling out to you now that you've had some time, dear. I hope you're longing for me too. So I've been climbing the walls, I've been walking the floor, I've been banging on the window, I've been hanging on the door. You said you had to leave because you didn't love me anymore. Broke my tender little heart. What did you do that for? One more time. Hey, you're lady, lady, lady. Hey, you're lady, lady, little lady. Climbing the walls, walking the floor, banging on the window, hanging on the door. You had to leave, you didn't love me anymore. Broke my tender little heart. What did you do that for? Thank you very much. All right, now we're gonna do a little ballad called House Keys. I actually wrote it about finding a ring in the back of a drawer, and it's called House Keys. Hopefully that'll make sense in a minute. Across his ring today, shoved away back in the drawer. Remembered what he'd said to me about what rings are for. They're for keeping things together that used to be apart. Less and more important things like house keys and like hearts. What you know at 17 would barely fill a jar. It's hard to mean forever, you can't quite see that far. They bought a little house, it wasn't much but was a start of a lifetime they'd spend sharing things like house keys and like hearts. Well, on the day he went to heaven, I was standing by his bed, and when I asked him how they'd stayed in love for all those years, he said, there really is no secret, there really is no art. You just find the joy in sharing things like house keys and like hearts. Somehow for 60 years and 19 days, they woke up in the dark, they'd find their way. Well, I ran across his ring today, shoved way back in a drawer. Turned it over in my hand, thought about what rings are for. They're for keeping things together that used to be apart. Less and more important things like house keys and like hearts. Sometimes the only way to make it through the hardest parts is holding on things like house keys and like hearts.
Thank you. I think I'm going to switch guitars now, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So, this is a song, this is actually an older song. This is on our Modern Relic CD, and this song's called Your Time. This one's just always been near and dear to me because it's sort of about finding that part of you that matters and then going with it. It's called Your Time.
Distance between you and the girl, grass stains on her knees, just shy of 10 years old. You run your mama senseless, wild as hell and pretty as you please, before you let them trample on your dreams. Back when you weren't scared of anything, ran till you were out of breath, left till you fell down, love like a movie star. You cried just to let it out. The sky your only limit, the fence your only line. It was your time. It was your time. The wind blows through the corn, an Indiana whisper. Tell me where you've been, why you had to go. Fortune will lead you on, then wreck you like a twister. To fate step into land, the final blow. Now you live with nothing but to show. Sometimes best to start with what you know. You ran till you were out of breath, your only line. Life ain't yours until you live it, baby. It's your last dime and it's spending time. So run till you're out of breath, left till you fall down. Star, go on and cry just to let it out. The sky your only limit, the fence your only line. As long as you stay in it, you're gonna be just fine, 'cause it's your time. Oh, it's your time. It's your time. It's your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Cari Ray and the Shaky Legs. That's Dionne Ward and Cari Ray today. But I really, really, really love the performance. Please go check out Cari Ray and the Shaky Legs' new album called Bad and Better Angels. You can find it on Spotify and iTunes and everywhere. Go play it like crazy. You just heard that song in there, Bad and Better Angels, as well as House Keys, which is also on the record. And by the way, House Keys is my favorite tune of theirs. I keep playing it over and over and over again on my iPhone, in the car. I love that song. So please check out Cari Ray and the Shaky Legs record. Also, I want you to check me out next week. I'll be playing on Friday night at the Irving Theater in Irvington, which is the east side of Indianapolis, in a songwriter showcase with a couple of other great artists. So you can find me there. And then you can find me on May 26th, which is next Saturday. And that is at Books and Brews in Broad Ripple, right in the heart of Broad Ripple. Come there, see the show. It's going to be awesome. So I hope to see a lot of you there. I hope to get to meet more and more of you. It's really a great experience for me, and I'm really humbled, and it's great to meet all you guys when you come up to me and talk about the show. Please leave some comments, subscribe to the show, and we hope to see you all next week on Moonshine and Music. Moonshine and Music is a presentation of Eat New Media in association with Notlehs Entertainment. Producers for today's program are Brandon Lay and Joe Shelton. Be sure to join us next time on Moonshine and Music.